to make work optional. Not because I hated my job. I loved my job. I hated work. The idea of having to be up at a certain time determined by someone else, the idea of having to put in 50 to 60 hours a week to make someone else's dream come true so I could earn a paycheck to afford my life, make me sick to my stomach because I'm that lazy. So reaching financial freedom, part of the motivation was how lazy I am. There are several ways to reach financial freedom. There's starting and growing a business with the intention of growing it to the point where somebody else runs the day-to-day. But that is a job. And while some people say, I want to be an entrepreneur because I don't want to have a boss, everybody with a Yelp account that's your customer is now your boss. So I really wasn't looking to do that. And the time commitment and while working a full-time job, being a single parent raising 3 kids, really wasn't there to start a side hustle and grow a business large enough to the point where somebody else could come in and run the day-to-day so that I could have my time freedom back, which is what the lazy person in me wanted. Then there's stocks. So why in the world would I pick real estate over stocks? Let's talk about how much easier stocks is. Right? The barrier to entry to getting into real estate, just the down payment alone, right? Having the reserves, qualifying for lending, all of these hoops you have to jump through to get a rental or to own a house, when you can just open up an app with maybe $100 and then make transactions at $5, something like on Robinhood, and buy stocks with an overall long enough time period of a 10% return in stocks. Seems like that'd be the easier way to go. It doesn't take as much money piled up. You can take small increments as you earn it, as you save it and invest. Why not just save money? I mean, even easier than stocks, not investing at all, just saving money and putting it in the bank. Right now, you can get 4% interest, even 5% in some cases, with a high interest savings account. Yes, there's been times where you can get 11% interest, and there's been times where you can get 0.02% interest. So that can fluctuate, but it's easier. There's even a step that's easier than saving and easier than stocks. That isn't real estate. So why in the world would I choose something where I have to deal with tenants, toilets, and termites and risk of, you can have pretty big risks for having a vacancy. What if you have to pay the mortgage out of your own pocket? Worse than vacancy, what if you have to deal with an eviction? So you have the expense of a vacancy. You're going through the eviction because they're probably not paying. So it's just like it's being empty, except you're paying for the expense of the eviction and paying the mortgage on top of the time that it takes to go through the eviction. And then what if a tenant just trashes your property? Right? They can pour cement down the drains. They can punch holes through all the doors and the walls. They can do all kinds of things that cost you money when they leave, more than what their deposit is. The risks, the time, the energy, the barrier to entry to everything with real estate makes saving easier, makes investing in stocks easier, more attractive to the lazy person. You could just put money in stocks. You can retire with a stock investment. You can retire with possibly just saving, even easier than the stock market, and even easier than just saving, is to take a quote right out of, I believe this is from The Richest Man in Babylon. Could be from Think and Grow Rich. I mix those two up a lot. 2 books I highly recommend. Their Audible versions are right here on YouTube, so it's not like you even have to go spend money. You can listen to those. Your retirement accounts. Think of how easy this is. You don't have to save because you never see the money. It's taken out of your check before you get it. It delays the taxes. They take the money out pre-tax. This helps the lazy person. You don't want to pay taxes, right? The more taxes you pay, the more you have to work to have money. So lazy person doesn't want to pay taxes either. So if you set up your money in a retirement account, the lazy person can sit back and go, all I have to do is go to work. How easy is that? How lazy is that? Go check in, do my 40. For me, it was 50 to 60 hours. But for the average person, we'll say 40 hours a week. You sit in your commute, you listen to music, podcasts, audiobooks. You don't have to educate yourself. You can just sit back and be as lazy as you want, go to work, do the absolute bare minimum to not get fired, have them contribute to your retirement account, and then you can retire at the normal retirement age. And let's make it even easier than that. So we have stocks, the barrier to entry is easier. Not even investing in stocks and just saving, that's easier. Going for retirement accounts is even easier because you don't see the money. You can set up the thing, and then we'll add to that the match, right? Your employer is going to match up to a certain percentage how much money you put into your retirement account. This is amazing. This is how you should retire. For the lazy person, this is how you'd want to do it. You just want to throw away your entire life and retire very old when you can't enjoy it anymore. But let's add the things that happen if you retire when you're so old that you can't enjoy it. So security. How much less do you have to save and invest if part of your retirement plan is planning on the government not messing things up and actually having so security when you get to the age to take it? And then let's take it even a step further on how much easier this is to retire the normal way. How the lazy person would really want to just go to work, put money into a retirement account, work until they're very old, can't enjoy their retirement, have lost their entire livable life. And now you see the humor and the sarcasm, hopefully. You add Medicare. You get to 65, they're going to charge you for Medicare anyway. So you might as well use it. So if you wait to retire to 65, you have Medicare, you have Social Security, you have your after 59 and a half. So the money that you stole from yourself instead of using it to invest and put it into a retirement account, if it didn't lose value, you got the match to put into a retirement account to now that in the 65 plus age, you can retire the laziest way possible by working at least 40 hours a week for 40 years. Why am I getting the phone call? So, squirrel, you can work for more than 40 years, at least 40 hours a week to retire on 40% of what you made. That's as lazy as it gets. So why would I choose real estate? Why in the world would I deal with tenants, toilets, and termites, tackle the massive barrier to entry to qualifying for a loan, saving down payments, having reserves, having the money for immediate repairs, finding a lease, dealing with vacancies, dealing with rehabs, dealing with possible 10 o'clock at night calls that the plumbing isn't working, right? Why would I choose that over the absolute lazy that would resonate with my lazy self? This is how lazy I am. My dad, I still miss you, Dad, who passed away on the job site, worked until he was 75, owned a tree service. My brother, who retired at 50 with 10 paid off rentals, also owned a tree service. I still have a brother in California who owns a tree service. All of my family owned residential and some logging tree services. I joined the Marine Corps because that's easier than tree work. That's how lazy I am. You think I would absolutely, and pretty much did, choose to go, I'm going to work for at least 40 years, at least 40 hours a week, and then retire on probably 40% of what I made. After Desert Storm, the Marine Corps downsized. So my first option of working at least 20 years for that pension was taken away due to something outside of my control. In 2008, I'd been working in law enforcement for about 8 years, and the recession hit. And whenever there's a recession, we all know that there's no more crime, so we don't need cops anymore. So I got laid off with a bunch of qualified officers at the same time. And my second option of trying to work for a pension with that super lazy mindset of I'm going to contribute to a retirement account, not go through a divorce and have to empty it. How many times? A few times. Wow, talk about how to depress yourself in an instant. But take away my ability to get a pension more than once. And then I sit back and I think, I need to create my own pension. Retirement accounts are unreliable. They wait till a certain age. And I had a couple of examples of people who chose real estate. Now, my brother did it in what I consider to be a very insane way that looks genius in retrospect. But he ran his tree service, and he would buy dilapidated, falling down mobile homes in the middle of nowhere on acreage for he used a HELOC, and he was buying properties for $60,000 to $80,000. And then he would spend 3 or 4 months, 5 or 6 hours a day fixing them up because he has craftsman skills, and he would turn it into a really nice rental. I didn't have his HELOC. I didn't have his skill set. I didn't have his time, his motivation, or his energy to be able to acquire rentals and then fix them up. I thought it was crazy, but then he retired. When he turned 50, he closed his tree service down, and the rentals were in place. So no more HELOC, no more renovations, no more rehabs. Tenants are just in place. So every now and then he'll have a tenant turnover. I didn't have that option. So Here's all of the reasons why, as a lazy person, stocks made more sense. Saving makes more sense. Working and contributing to a retirement account makes more sense. Getting Social Security, Medicare makes more sense. I'm even lazier than I've put myself out here as. I'm even lazier than that. It's possible to be lazier than somebody who wants to just sit back, go to work, have a boss tell them what to do, set a match, work consistently, come home, Netflix for 3 or 4 hours a night, listen to music, not educate yourself with financial information, real estate information, nothing on BiggerPockets, nothing in one rental at a time, or lumberjack landlord, just mind shut down when you're not at work, mind turned down when you're at work. That's the laziest way to do it. Here's why I chose real estate. I'm not stupid. Retirement accounts suck. You're saying I'm delaying taxes and I'm getting the match. So I do get the math of getting the match. It frustrated me to do that. But 59 and a half? You want to work until you're 59 and a half? If you're starting to invest and you're 57, sure. Put some money in a retirement account. You can wait a couple of years. But if you're 35 or 40, when I started to invest and I realized I need to take charge of my own pension, I was going to wait 19 and a half years to retire when I saw a path to financial freedom that would take less than 10 years, a decade, and then give myself a decade of early retirement compared to if I had worked to normal retirement age. And this is before Social Security, which is at 62, which is when I recommend taking it, whether you're financially free or not. This is before Medicaid, which is Medicare, whichever one is which of those at 65. I have to live somewhere, right? You even if you're homeless, you're choosing where you live. But what if you house hacked? What if you rented out rooms in your house? I did this actually before becoming an investor. When I wanted to go through the police academy, I had young kids. And the police academy was over an hour away, and it was Monday through Friday, somewhere between 8 and 12 hours a day, depending on how much studying you were doing. So 12 hours a day is possible, plus an hour commute each way. So you'd be looking at a 14-hour day. I would sleep in the parking lot at the police academy and not make it home. So I rented a room out for free to a young couple that I knew and trusted because they provided live-in daycare. Basically, somebody there to make sure my kids didn't kill each other, which was always a possibility. But that was before becoming an investor. That was to become a police officer. What if I house hacked again? Right? I had kids. I didn't want to go through the luck of finding and knowing, vetting, trusting, and liking a young couple enough to rent out while I have my own kids there. So instead, I acquired a duplex. I moved into one side. The single family houses in my area were $300,000 to $400,000. Duplexes were $300,000 to $400,000. My very first duplex was $325,000. So I was basically buying a single family house to live in, except instead of having $1,000 or $1,200 mortgage at the time, my housing costs dropped to $300 a month. I had to live there. We had our own fenced yard, own garage, completely separate, but our garages touched a tenant's garage. That tenant paid almost all of my mortgage. So yeah, I had to deal with the tenant. I rented out the house that I had lived in and for 2 years to get my debt to income fixed, because I also found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name I didn't know existed until the divorce. So that's a good starting position to be in, getting laid off from law enforcement, a lot of bad debt. But I started house hacking. You have to live somewhere. The saving thing, I did that. For a while, even before becoming an investor, I maxed out my retirement account. I was making the stupid plan of retiring when I'm old, hoping taxes are less in the future because I've never met the government, right? And not realizing that there were other paths. So could I have invested in real estate, or could I have invested in stocks? Right? I kind of dismissed the business because I'm not an entrepreneur. I am an investor. And before that, I was just an employee. Thought I was a pretty good employee. But I could have chose stocks. Why wouldn't I just open up something like a Robinhood account, which I don't think existed when I started investing in the 2010 era. I don't know when Robinhood came out, but there were probably other ways to buy stocks with a lower barrier to entry than saving up the $28,000 that it took to have down payment, closing costs, immediate repairs, reserves, and I use my retirement account as reserves, for the lender to let me buy that duplex, that first 5% owner-occupied down duplex purchase. Why not just buy stocks? In a decade, out of my own income, I have invested $320,000 to generate in 2022 $203,000 in profit. So I was able to retire last year. It's a multiplier of at least 4 more times than what I actually need to live, because I'm still house hacking, still living for free. How much would I need to invest in stocks with the 4% rule to generate at least the $50,000 I would want a year to? I don't know that I could retire early on that, but retire eventually on 50,000 and then add Social Security and then add Medicare. Maybe that would work. Maybe that's a good plan for some people. It wouldn't involve much traveling. It wouldn't involve buying the things that I want to enjoy in retirement. And it definitely wouldn't have involved retiring early, because the 4% rule to get $40,000 a year means you need to invest $1 million. I have $1 million. How many decades would it take me, when I didn't really start investing until 40, to get $1 million invested in stocks? It took $320,000. Now I recycled the cash flow. Money coming in from rentals was also reinvested. But to get to that, they're calling me again, and I don't recognize that number. I'm supposed to, if they call again, I'm going to answer it because it could be important. Quality YouTube here. Because it could be my handyman, which I always want to answer. Right. Well, I know I could text, because who calls anymore? That's weird. If you're ever going to call somebody, text first. Calling is stupid. See how lazy I am? I don't want to answer the phone. So I didn't want to invest at least $1 million to get what I would need to retire. I didn't want retirement accounts because it is a refrigerator being delivered. Problem of being a landlord. A whole text to handle an issue. Don't ever be a landlord if you're lazy. It's way too much work. I don't know how I could possibly handle answering a text to have a refrigerator delivered. 4th freaking refrigerator this year. First time I've ever had refrigerators go out. But I buy properties that have refrigerators in place that have been there since all the way back since Christ was a corporal. So they've been there a minute. So I'm okay that they're breaking. And the tenants are paying for my new refrigerators. Squirrel. This is terrible live. I'm very sorry about this. Almost wrapped up with my rant on why I chose real estate. And I'm going to get to the questions in the comment section and answer everything for a bit until I head out to my new property that I just closed on, because real estate stocks, I bought another one. If I invested in retirement accounts, I'm putting my age at 59.5. If I invested in stocks, I need at least $1 million invested. If I use here's a question. I've never seen this before. This is a Lowe's delivery, live, real-time landlording. Also, the refrigerator is a little damaged on the back. Lowe's wanted me to tell you that you could get up to 20 to 30% off if you accept the order. If not, we can reschedule within your refrigerator. What would you ask? Would you take a damaged refrigerator? It's damaged in the back, or would you want a new one delivered another day? I had a question to ask, and this tells me what I'm going to do. Is the warranty still valid? If it's warranted and damaged in a place the tenant's not going to see, I would accept it. It'd be like buying at a scratch and dent center. If the warranty is not valid, I don't want it. Then I have to return it because he says he doesn't know. Refuse it. %90 discount is not worth not getting a warranty on something that's damaged, especially if it shows up damaged. I'd also ask, does it still work? That's a good question to ask. Thank you, the wealth building journey. So I chose real estate because I have control. I can dictate how lazy I am. I could possibly hire a property manager. I, in the beginning, had terrible systems and it took a lot of my time, but I developed systems that make it take less than 2 hours a month to manage my 16 units. So that helps my lazy. Significantly lower amount invested over a decade to produce a significantly higher amount of cash flow. That's just the cash flow, right? I haven't talked about, if you want that 10% return that comes in stocks, that's if you sell. You have to lose part of your actual asset. You're getting an average of 5% appreciation with real estate, right? So the stocks are getting 10%. You're gaining an average of 10. There are years where you lose and gain. Sometimes you gain 20%. Sometimes you lose 10%. Whatever it is in stocks, giving you the benefit of the doubt. If you're a stock investor, consistently, we'll say 10% is the overall average over a long enough period of time. The life expectancy for everyone over a long enough period of time is 0. But if you invest in real estate and you have that average annual return appreciation of 5%, which for the last couple of years was 24% and 19%. But we'll just say 5%, give stocks the benefit, take away the benefit for real estate and say 5%. That's of the total value. The bank doesn't get the appreciation on the value, you do. So you put in, I buy this first duplex, I don't know what it was, between $15,000 and $20,000 with the down payment, closing costs, and stuff like that. So those expenses were about that. But I'm gaining appreciation in the beginning on over $300,000. So if it goes up 10%, I didn't gain $2,000. I gained $30,000. So if I gained 5%, because that's what we're giving real estate, I would gain 15 instead of $1,000. Then the tenants are going to pay off the mortgage. How many times in stocks does somebody else pay off your debt? You can use margin, but it can be called. With real estate, I have 30-year fixed rate debt, can't be called. And then we'll talk taxes. The gains in stocks, the reason they use the 4% rule is because they're expecting an average return of 10% a year. That gives you enough to cover for normal inflation, not the last couple of years, but normal inflation, and to pay the taxes of when you sell the portion of the stocks to give you your 4% to live on. With real estate, in over a decade, I haven't paid a penny in rental income tax, even last year when I made a couple $100,000 in profit because of depreciation and write-offs. It's like Congress is full of people who own real estate who keep making laws that benefit people who own real estate. It's so weird. So long laundry list of reasons why stocks, saving, retirement accounts make more sense. They match a retirement, a lazy person's mindset much better. But I chose real estate. Main reason, I'm not stupid. I'm not saying choosing one of those other formats is stupid. Maybe the retirement account and retiring when you're old, because let me explain the math of time. And I've used this in a couple of different situations. One is when a tenant wants to pay their rent late, I can use the math of time to have so far have them all choose not to. But here's the math of time. Let's look at the next year. And I did this yesterday. I went to lunch with a friend yesterday, a really good friend. So, hey, Daryl, don't know if you watch my content, but I had lunch with him yesterday. He's still working. He probably could retire if he started doing his money right, whatever format he chose, stocks, real estate, crypto, open a business. He's probably entrepreneurial. He could open a business and do that. But if he could retire early, he's not. He's working right now. So let's look at our next year, the math of time. He works 8 to 12 hours a day, right? He's in a management position at his company, so he works some overtime. So we're going to average that out to 10 hours a day. His commute's really short. He lives fairly close to work, so we're just going to leave it at 10 hours a day. But then he gets his half hour or his hour at lunch. So that's really time where he's just eating. So we'll stretch out how much time he's there. Then he's got to do laundry and cook food. He's got a kid. He's got all these things he's got to do regular life. But how much time does my friend have that's his every day? I estimated it at about 4 hours a day. He said 2. We had this conversation. He said, I got about 2 hours a day that are mine. I'm going to say it's 4. maybe he could figure out some way to get a little more of his me time in there. So he's 4 hours a day for the next year. Take out the 10 hours a day that I don't work. Right? Me and him, we both still sleep. We both still cook. I eat out. We still clean. We still work out. We still do a lot of things. So I'm not getting 24 hours a day. I'm going to lose 8 hours to sleep. He loses 8 hours to sleep. He's going to lose 10 hours to work. I don't. So he's going to get, we're saying 4 hours a day. I get somewhere around 15. So we'll say his 10 plus his 4, I get 14. So if he gets 4 and I get 14, I'm get more than 3 times the amount of life every day. And I'm doubling what he said he had. So if you use what he said, I get 14, I get 7 times the amount of life, but we're gonna be conservative. I get 3 times the amount of life. In the next year, he's gonna live 1 year of his own time that he's estimated to be his. I'm gonna live 3. And I did the math really with the number he provided, 7. So if you can retire a decade earlier, that's the equivalent of 30 years of the amount of free time the average worker has packed into that 10-year span. Then you add day of week doesn't matter, time of day doesn't matter, you don't have a boss. So that's why when I say retirement accounts might be stupid, because you're putting yourself at an age, like I said, if you're 55, 56, 57, maybe retirement accounts make sense because you're so close. And then the tax benefits might benefit you. But the tax benefits of retirement accounts suck in comparison to the tax benefits of real estate. I'm carrying forward a loss from last year when I made a couple $100,000 in profit to use against profit from this year. Show me that in a retirement account. Oh, but you could take it out without paying the gains. Well, you've already paid the taxes to get it in there. And if you take it out, you lose the best benefit to retirement accounts of compounding the interest. You took it out, so now it's not compounding. Oh, you can self-direct. I mean, take away, you can buy a rental with your retirement account, which means you lose all of the benefits of owning real estate, can't self-manage, lose depreciation. Like, no. That's why I chose real estate. Rant over for now. Tune back later. The wealth building journey should feels bad for Dividend Dave on not being first. Very sorry, Dave. I should start sending Dividend Dave a text saying, hey, I'm going live at this time. No, that wouldn't be fair. I think I enjoy that part too much. Clint, howdy. Josh, howdy. Good morning from Spokane. Nice. James, howdy. Thanks for all you do for the real estate investing community. I like it. I'm hoping that I help a few people reach financial freedom. That would be great. And I have, okay, refrigerators being delivered. I will have them swap it out if the warranty is not in place, and I will confirm that later when I can focus on it. Right now, I want to focus on here with you. Michelle, howdy. They make me laugh too. Dividend Dave, in denial, saying he's first. I was going to tell Dividend Dave a time travel joke, but he didn't like it. Invest to wealth. Howdy. See, Dave, I could do dad jokes too. The wealth building journey. You hear that denial is a river in Egypt. Oh, we have more dad jokes. Appreciate it. John Williams, REI Stoners. Howdy. Corey B. Thank you for the super chat. It's much appreciated. Good morning. Thanks for all you do. Everyone have a great weekend. I hope everyone does have a great weekend. This super lazy person is probably going to be painting all weekend. Or demo. It's one of those things where I just kind of look and go, what sounds the most fun? I'll do that. What doesn't sound fun, I'm going to pay somebody to do. Sean, howdy. You have a 4-unit under contract with a vacant unit, closing in 2 to 3 weeks. I want to have the sellers allow me to put a listing up to rent out now instead of waiting until closing. Thoughts? So the listing you can put up at any time. You control that. It's the showings. Because technically right now it's not your property. And there are plenty of slips twixt a lip and a cup. There are reasons why closings don't happen. So if you do showings, I would be clear with the tenants that it's pending the transaction closing. Don't take deposits, don't take holding money to secure it, don't sign leases. You can answer questions. So that's my thoughts on that. Have I done that? There's nothing you need to do. I would want to do coded locks, motion sensor LED lights, a couple of other things before the tenant gets in there. You could swap those out after closing if you had to. That's and the first couple of times I would go and do that. But that's an easy couple, 20, 30 minutes with a handyman to have that done. Know your local laws. If it's your property, you are allowed to do some things. Handyman has to have an electrician's license, certificate, and insurance to touch anything with electrical in some states. I have a handyman who has an electrician sub, which really means he just has a good relationship with an electrician that he can get to come to his jobs. I'm making sure, Corey, I'm not missing a question if you had one in here, because I've done that sometimes. There we go. Corey B, closing on my second property, July 14th. It's a triplex, jumping from 1 to 4 doors. Nice. That sounds awesome. We do call it one rental at a time when we talk about Zuber and his thing, but that's really property. I purchased a 4-plex and a triplex, and I just closed on a duplex. So it's kind of nice when you add a couple of units. Sean, okay, wealth building journey. Dividend Dave, signing closing papers on my Gary house today. Congratulations. Make sure you let Zuber know, get your card. And maybe we can reach out, Dave, do a video, talk about numbers, get that down and what the experience was like. Is this turnkey? Is this turnkey Burr? Is this through the Olsen Group? Is this through your network that you grew with Millennial Mike out there? REI Stoners? Because I missed the first. Okay, howdy, Dave. I have to work, but listening while waiting to hear back from the seller to see if they are going to fix some stuff before close. Nice. REI Stoners is under contract. He's actually working with one of the agents I worked with, and I don't know if you're using the same lender, but I connected you. So if you are, cool. Whenever you see a question in social media with so if you're an agent, this doesn't help you. But if you're an investor and you have an agent and a lender, and everybody says, what kind of closing gift do you get? So sometimes agents will buy things for their buyers. Totally get it. The best gift we can give to the agents and lenders is referrals. When somebody says, I'm looking to buy or sell a property, and you've had a good experience with a realtor, with a lender, just say, hey, if you don't have an agent or a lender, let me connect you. Larry, howdy. A couple of people from Spokane there. Nice. From the Panhandle area. The wealth building journey. Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice messaging service. I finally set up voicemail. I resisted it up until I was doing something with the VA where they'll always leave a voice message. But my thing was, this person has not set up their voicemail because it's not 1984 anymore. That's all. Howdy. I'm looking at a property that is outside my budget, but it will cash flow once all the units are brought to market rent. I can't get a solid lender onto why I can't get an FSA loan. FSA, I'm going to assume FHA, maybe? FSA. So that's such a thing as an FSA loan. I think it's a typo. Let me know if it's not. If it's not, then I have to figure out a new acronym. Can't get an FHA loan. They have to be live-in ready. If it's outside your budget, FHA does have loan limits, and usually per county. They can be different in each county. But I would look at conventional lending, not FHA. Remember, FHA, unless it's a triplex or a fourplex, FHA then might make sense because the down payment is 3.5. So we're at the 35-minute mark. I'm going to give a quick breakdown on why conventional and not FHA. FHA is not meant for first-time home buyers. People think it is because it says FH, which sounds like first-time home buyer. That's not what it is. It's Federal Housing Authority. An FHA loan is designed for somebody whose credit and debt-to-income ratio aren't good. That's who that's designed for, but to help them still get on the property ladder. Conventional has first-time home buyers where it's only 3% down instead of 3.5 like FHA. Mortgage insurance automatically drops off at 22% equity without having to refinance. With FHA, mortgage insurance lasts the length of the loan. So 3 options. You have to sell the property, pay off the mortgage, or refinance to get rid of your mortgage insurance. FHA is also a little harder to get sellers to accept because they think there's more hoops to jump through. So conventional is more attractive to me on every level. I've never used FHA. I've not used my VA loan. I have it in my back pocket just in case. I might be using it sometime next year. But look at conventional. They could still have loan limits based on your income, your work history. If you're looking at a property that doesn't make sense with conventional, another option would be this would require a larger down payment and get a worse interest rate, but it's also an option to buy properties where they cost more than what you qualify for. A DSCR loan or asset-based lending. This is where they're going to look at your credit score. Your credit score is still a factor, but your income, debt-to-income ratio, work history isn't a factor. They look at the property and how will it perform. Well, rents, and they'll use market rents too. So it sometimes doesn't matter what current rents are. They'll look at market rents. Some lenders will want to see at least 3 months remaining on leases. So in that case, they're going to want occupied units on at least the majority of your rentals. So if you have other rentals, at least half of them have to have the 3 months remaining on leases. So you have a couple of options there. FHA does have the loan limitations though, based on an area. I have had a friend that we used an FHA loan to buy a duplex, but they had to put 8% down because that brought the amount of the loan under the threshold for the county that they were investing in. So depending on how much money you have to put into the down payment, you can ask your lender if there's a way to make you qualify, if FHA is the one that you need, because you can do it with a higher debt to income ratio and a lower credit score. James, howdy. I own rentals and have the capital to buy more, but can't find any deals in my buy box. Best friend, which I own a property with, also owns funeral homes. He offered me a 10% return for my down payment of $250,000, as well as 50% of ownership of the funeral home, real estate, not the business. Would you ever entertain that deal? Silent partner on $1.2 million worth of real estate for 10% return. So if you're looking at buying a business, it's a completely different animal than investing in real estate. You want to look at the EBITDA. You want to look at owner add backs to figure out what they're using from their profit and loss from their, not profit and loss. Been a minute since I've helped buy or sell businesses, but you want to look at a lot of other things there. There are reasons why I keep choosing to invest in real estate, although you have a relationship with somebody who has this business. Why do they need a partner? Do they need the cash influx because the business isn't sustainable? Or are they trying to add or grow something where your cash assists with that? There is a lot to consider there that would take more, I think, than a posted question and an answer when it comes to buying a business. I couldn't find deals in my buy box either. I've been looking since 2021. I bought a duplex in May of 2021, and then I was looking, but not actively. I was saving, and I went through a retirement in 2022, so that took a bit of my attention. I was looking at buying in Portugal until I traveled to Portugal and decided not to. So there's a couple of reasons that also helped me delay and not really focus on finding deals in my buy box. So I probably missed some, but I expanded my buy box by about another 30 minutes of travel time. I found 11 new markets, and 2 of them made sense. So you might try expanding your market, changing your buy box, looking at a different asset class in real estate before you invest in a business, especially if it's one that you don't know much about. Have you talked with how the funeral industry works? And if it's something you want to be involved in. Businesses are very different than real estate. Doesn't mean it's bad. Silent partner means you're probably not going to work on the day-to-day. You're a cash influx. What is the business structure? 10% return for what portion of equity in the business? What portion of equity in the cash flow, or the amount of cash flow that's going to be returned to you? If there's a sale of the business, how does that impact your investment, right? There's strata of how that investment would work with a business, whereas real estate, some cases it can be fairly similar. If you're doing a joint venture, you have to have all that spelled out. One thing I do recommend is if you're doing a business venture like this with somebody, an LLC, this is one of the times where it makes sense and you want them because it protects you from someone else's mistakes. Having everything written out in writing, checked by an attorney now while everybody's getting along, because in 2 or 3 years when you have a disagreement, that's not when you can write anything down on how it should go. Wealth building journey. Thank you. As long as it's functional. The refrigerator doesn't work. I'll find out. I think it's probably, what can be damaged on the back of a refrigerator? Probably just venting Freon into the atmosphere. I don't care about my kids, so I don't want the planet to be good anyway. So, Justin, howdy, where's the damage? It's in the back. I'm going to go deliver at your property, Michelle. There you go. Stephen, howdy. So I have a question for a pro like you. I'm looking to buy and develop a raw piece of land for camper, rent my land there, camper. My question is, how can I get my down payment back out and repeat? Once you have it up and running and you can show that there's cash flow, it's easier to get a loan against it. You're probably going to be looking at a debt service coverage ratio loan like DSCR. You could look at private money. There are people out there in this chat today, I won't name them, who are investing with a friend who the friend knows how to put the money to work. The investor just wants a set return, put it all in writing, they're getting a 10% return. And the friend is using the money to rinse and repeat his cycle. Private money might be an option for that. You'd have to demonstrate that it works. Hard part with developing anything with raw land and putting in anything with RVs or campers is getting permits for it, getting the city to be on board. And not exactly the same, but a related thought process is, on average, we lose 2% of all mobile home parks in the country every year because municipalities don't want to add any, and some fail and close down. When you add something like an RV pad, you generally can bring in a family. A family is a draw on local resources, law, fire, school, right? There's a draw on taxes, but since the RV pad is not a building physical increased structure to the property value, the taxes don't increase, meaning the municipality is going to cost more money because of this new influx of people, but not generate more revenue. So getting permitting for something like that is the gold mine. My brother has a 5-acre parcel that has a house and an ADU. 5 acres, house, ADU, zoned RV. And he doesn't have any RV pads in there because he doesn't need it. But that's a gold mine because they won't, in most cases, allow more. So if you go to the municipality before you buy a property and say, what is it like to work with you guys? They're all going to say, it's amazing. We're great. Right? Who's going to say otherwise if it's their job? Find the local contractors and investors who have dealt with that municipality and ask them what the process is like. Find the contractor that's put in RV pads or camping pads and said, and because you might need to put in septic or connect to sewer or whatever the situation is where you're at, and say, what's it like to work with this city? What's the timeline like? And include that in your equation. And I see that we had a super chat from Steve. Ty, thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Hopefully the answer was helpful. Michelle, I have to text you and then Dave so you can beat him here. That seems that I could probably be on board with. Theo, howdy. I've heard people talking about reaching out to builders directly to purchase new build duplexes. Any thoughts? Yes. So if you're going to look out to new builds, I think it's a great strategy. I think you have more negotiating power. There's actually been a couple of episodes on BiggerPockets recently where they were talking about new builds. So you might want to go back through their most recent, I think it was a Seeing Green one where he was answering questions. David Green did that and it came up into there. So there's probably some great content there for you on that. I have not done this. Here's the warning for experience that I have seen with builders. If they're building and they're in place and their loan structures coming to a close and they haven't sold because interest rates went up, you might have some negotiating power. You might have more negotiating power because they might have their own lender that's going to work with you on their purchase of their builds. If you have a builder that you reach out to that says, we're going to buy that parcel, you're going to buy a duplex on that parcel, and we're going to build it for you. Sounds great. Check out what their contract termination fee is. Because the builder, in some cases, is trying to get funding together to start the next project. Doesn't mean they want to sell it to where the funding came from. Actually, this is a real person, not me, an actual friend, purchased a duplex, spec build, it's going to be built out, bought the parcel, gave the money to do it, secured the funding. They start the build. The guy sells the build to somebody else for significantly more money and then pays my friend the $50 contract termination fee. If I was going to do that, I would want to make sure the contract termination fee was 30 grand, 40 grand, more than they're probably going to be able to charge more than what I'm paying, depending on what happens in the next 6 months to 2 years that it takes to do the build. So that'd be one thing I would look at to be cautious with. But if it's in place and they're just looking to sell because they haven't sold and their money is coming up in their time crunch, you might find the motivated seller builder combo. So hope that helps. JMC, howdy. Here's a real estate agent joke for you. Okay. Hope I can get through this because I just read these things. And so if there's any kids in the background, the truck driver client. My truck driver client was such a pain. He kept saying he wanted a house with long hallways. Okay. Well, it was clean. It was a good joke. Clean joke. I never know. Fair enough. Michelle, by the way, 62 liking, only 25 likes. I think the ratio when it comes to likes is about 1 out of 10. When the views on a video kind of taper off and become kind of flat, usually it's 1 out of 10 people take the time. So I wonder what the ratio is of investors who take the time to help new investors. It's probably 1 out of 10 too. Because believe me, the lazy part of me was like, you've reached financial freedom, off into the sunset, done. Play video games, travel and see the world forever, and never do YouTube courses, talk to people ever again. Luckily, that lazy part of me has never won. RAI Stoners, do you have a handyman you can send my way? Looks like we will have some things to fix ourselves. I will connect you with a couple. And a strategy that I'm using, because I'm kind of investing in the new market, is using Thumbtack to hire handyman to do some small jobs, to find out what their scope is, and start building a relationship in my new market. Because like I said 17 minutes ago, I expanded my market out, 30 more minutes of travel. But in this, in Thurston and Pierce County, I do have a couple of good handymen I could send your way. So remind me with a text when this is over, and I will connect you with them. And always remember that when you're dealing with a handyman, so this is not, I guess, all handyman, but this is the ones that I've dealt with. Great work, great prices, but there's a reason they're a handyman and they don't have a regular job and they're not investors. It's usually time management, consistency. So the saying goes, you can have good, fast, or cheap. You get two. Can't have all three. Kane, howdy. Love your content. Thank you so much. This video is awesome for someone like me that's struck from content overload from so many different types of investing. Thank you for the comparisons. Thanks. Hopefully, what I try to do is be kind of transparent on, here's the reasons that worked for me on why real estate worked. There are people who are too soft-hearted, right? So soft-hearted, they wouldn't even have a property manager to manage their properties. They get walked all over by their tenants or their property manager. Maybe stocks is the way to go. If you have if you're Dave Ramsey and you have tens of millions of dollars coming in every year, then you can invest, buy all cash, invest in different asset classes. Great. For me, it was kind of an average income, maybe even a little lower at the beginning, a little worse bad debt, having to live somewhere. There were reasons why this worked for me. That doesn't mean that the other ways don't work too. So if you're doing that comparison, think about this, Kane. What excites you? Like, do you get that adrenaline rush when you open up and you say, where's Bitcoin at today? What's my stock portfolio at? What is that? If that really excites you, but the thought of owning real estate, it just kind of just feels heavy and it's depressing, then right, you want to invest in something that excites you. Don't invest based on emotion. Like, I really like Tesla cars, so I'm going to buy a Tesla stock, right? That's not how that works. Research the company, research the stocks, research the real estate, research the properties, research the asset class. But what are you more likely to stay investing in when you hit a bump in the road? So if you're me, and I wouldn't own stocks if they came with free tacos, right? So if I had stocks and they dipped a bit, I'm probably the type of person who would sell, and that's who loses, right? You lock in a sale, you lock in a loss when you sell. But in real estate, when a tenant calls me last week and says, "Hey, our refrigerator went out," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. Take a tabulation of how much food you lost. Let's work out that so you get compensated. Let's get a refrigerator in place." I order the refrigerator. It was a couple text messages and emails. It was text message during a live stream. That doesn't bother me, right? I'm so excited about real estate. If I had to go to Lowe's or Home Depot to pick out a refrigerator, to physically put it in the back of my truck, to take it to the tenant, just swap it out, to go and pay for the, the haul away, what do you call it? I call it the dump, but there's probably another more professional term for the dump. But when you throw the refrigerator away and pay for that, if I had to go through all those steps, I'd probably still invest in real estate. I'm so lazy that I would rather go through to an app, went on the Lowe's app to buy the refrigerator, pay the $50 or $40 or whatever it was to have them haul away the refrigerator. I don't have to go to the property. I'm not going to interact with the tenants. Not that the tenants are bad people. It's just they're people. Have you met people? I don't want to meet people. So hopefully the breakdowns give you thought for what excites you and some comparisons to figure out what will make the most sense. And then Jay, New York City, took back a message to McNeeley, sleep tonight forever and ever and wonder what was said. And now I'll never know. Michelle, REI, if you are near Parkland, send me a Facebook message. I can give you a number. Good. Nice. Best thing we can do for the people we know is give them referrals. Howdy, Ninja Vanish. Corby, howdy. Salutations. Greetings and salutations. Jay, New York City. When you say a market, are you literally talking about one zip code or an area of town? Depends on the density of the area, right? If you're in New York, it's probably a block or 2 blocks, right? That's your market, that local area. What do they call them? Boroughs. Here in Washington, we're fairly rural. If I was in King County, I might break it down by zip codes. In the other 37 or 39 counties or whatever they are, I go by county. So might be zip codes, there might be a couple of zip codes in each market, but I went by county. It's enough for me to know the areas to avoid and to know enough of what's going on with the economic drivers. Here's an example. Legal insider trading. This is at the 53-minute mark. So if you want to hear this again, legal insider trading. I ran a CDL school and I had a company reach out and they said, we're losing a lawsuit with the city and we have to relocate our company to the other side of the state. And we want to send a lot of our employees, a very ethical thing for this employer to do, through the CDL school to help them find jobs since their company's going away. It's like, oh, your company's going away. So this company is a mushroom factory. And that mushroom factory had a 5-mile radius of a very, very bad smell. That's why they were losing the lawsuit. I actually was on the side of the mushroom factory because they were there first and the city grew up around them. But they lost the lawsuit. I'm not an attorney. I couldn't fight their battle for them, but I could benefit from their battle legally. Now, this was in what they call the Nisqually News Tribune. This was on all the Facebook local groups. This company was losing their lawsuit. So everyone knew this company was moving away. I purchased a duplex 2 streets away. Right? There's a round street not too far away. I'm on that street. It doubled in value, over doubled. It's like 140% right now. And the rent's very close to doubled. They went from like 11 to 2,000 within 2 years because the smell was gone. I had insider knowledge that everyone had access to. I made a business investing decision based on that insider knowledge, which is legal in real estate. Not so much with stocks. To vastly benefit because it's in a county, not a zip code, not a borough, not an area. In that county, there is 3 places I wouldn't own. If you're in or around the town of Tumwater, Washington, and you see the address of 301 T Street, draw a circle around it and avoid it. Having served a million warrants there. If you're in Tacoma, you draw a line up and down McKinley Avenue and you go 3 blocks either side and you don't own any of that. Right? I know that about these counties, and there might be a couple of other ones that I keep in the back of my mind too. If there was more density and more small areas that could be ones I want to avoid, I'd probably tighten that criteria. Since I've also lived here for decades, right? It's not like I moved to a new market, took 60 days to learn the market. I have personal experience here. It's one of the other reasons why I like to invest locally. I expanded that market out by 30 minutes and hit where the commuters, the people who are now only working in the office 1 or 2 days a week, if they work in the office at all, have expanded out how far they will rent. So property prices are still kind of based off of 2 years ago rent, but the rents are current. So I found deals that made sense by expanding my market. And I took on 2 new counties and eliminated probably 80% of both of those counties because it was too much for me to learn in such a short period of time, because while I live here, I didn't live there. But in the 2 cities out of those 11 new markets, I found 2 cities I do know well enough, can study, drove the markets, drove the neighborhoods, actually took a day, went around, looked at some other things I couldn't find online to figure out where I would want to own, where I wouldn't want to own. Net worth, bruh. Howdy. I'm submitting a seller financing offer on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath duplex at 2.5% interest rate for $550K. Seller now wants $200K down payment. Should I counter with $500K contract price? $1,600 projected rents. So each side $1,600, I would guess. $550. Quick math in my head says that doesn't look great yet. Seller wants a $200,000 down payment. So you might want to look at, maybe they have a mortgage they need to take care of, or it's the down payment they need on where they're going to. Should I counter with $500,000 contract price? So they want $550, 2% interest. What about 0% interest with their size of their down payment? So I would want to look at that. And this is, I'm going to steal right out of One Rental at a Time. Michael Zuber has the spreadsheet in his course on how to compare deals, right? So, and this is a trick that he uses, a tool that he uses in his course. Put the property on the spreadsheet. Now, a lot of people will list out like 10 properties and then look at, try to figure out which one has the right yield. Take that property and list it at least 3 or 4 times, the same property, list it at the 500, the 550, and any other number that matters maybe, and then list it over with 2.5% interest, 0% interest, listed at 500,000, listed at 30-year amortization, move it around until you find something that looks attractive to you that you think would be the best offer to get the seller to commit to. That might be an adjustment rate to the interest rate or to the price. And until you put it in a spreadsheet and kind of look and see what that does to your yield and your cash flow, both matter. That might be the easiest way to figure out which was the right one. And then it's what will they agree to, and know your numbers, right? What if they need $200,000 down? The large down payment makes, why not just go conventional, right? You might get a worse interest rate. You might get something else that you want. Maybe the seller doesn't want 30-year amortized. You'd get that with conventional. Yeah, there's a lot to consider there. I would put on a spreadsheet and figure out which one looks the best. Seller will be leasing back one side for 6 months, other side is vacant, which I'm thinking of occupying yourself. So you're going to owner occupy it. So whenever you're running a house hack, I run the numbers as though the unit was rented out and it already moved out. So I run the numbers that way to see if it's a good deal. If you're doing a lease back for 6 months, I would take a significant amount of money, 20, 30, maybe whatever amount of thousands of dollars, hold with the title company. That doesn't get released to the seller until they move out. Right? If you're going to have to possibly go through an eviction to get rid of the person you're buying the property from, have a holdback of enough money to make that work. Wealth building journey. The compressor is also in the back, right? Yep. I have to figure out what the damage was. I should have had him send me a picture. Stephen, by the way, it's a lot in my city. You are allowed 1 camper per lot. Okay. Cody, howdy. Totally agree, Dion. I've been in the financial securities industry for 8 years as an advisor and in my home office, but realized real estate is the way to go and way faster than index funds or stocks. I totally agree. It's funny, Cody, every time I talk to somebody who has been a financial advisor, and I'm sure there's a ton of ethical ones out there, right? But I only ran into the ones that were on military bases, and they were very predatory. Generally, what the company did is they found a military member who was retiring, found one who would drink the Kool-Aid, and then told them, you're going to make money based on how many people in the military you get to commit. So they took the social equity of the retiring soldier and used that to, in my opinion, trick the younger soldiers into joining with their firm, contributing to their retirement thing. Mention real estate. I own a rental. Conversation's over. They stop talking to you. Because first, if you're a financial advisor, you're really not going to benefit financially from directing somebody's real estate investing. So I get there's no monetary gain. Second, if somebody has realized they've had that elucidating moment where they say, wow, cash flow, appreciation, principal pay down, tax benefits, shorter time frame to financial freedom, less amount of money needed to be invested, that's an uphill battle for the financial advisor to convince somebody of. But there are people who want to retire late, who don't want to have tenants, who don't want to own property, but so they need the financial advisors. Robert, howdy. How much would you say you invested total, including reinvesting cash flow? 600,000. So it's 620,000. So it's 320,000 of my money from my income over a decade, which I wouldn't have had if I didn't have the house hacking going, and a big part of my income from my job came from the security that I knew I had financial freedom. So I was able to take risks at work with ideas that really grew the company and increased my income towards the last couple of years of me working there. So because of real estate, it was that. But it was about 300,000 of recycled cash flow. I did a video probably like a year ago on how much I had invested. And so this has changed now because I just purchased a property all cash. Right. So financial freedom happened, independence happened in 8 years. I retired at 12 years. I'm at the 13-year mark now, and I just bought a property cash because I have to do something with the money. So I'm not really counting that as invested money. It's more like buying a primary house, even though I'm not stupid and I buy a house, I bought a duplex. But it's a burr. When I've done the rehab on the other unit, it's possible that I might pull the money out and redeploy it. So that's kind of an evolving thing, Robert. But up until financial freedom, retiring from my job and walking away and making over $200,000 in profit last year, it was 320 out of my own pocket, 300,000 from reinvested cash flow. So $620,000 to generate a couple $100,000 in profit. To imagine the appreciation grow from the last couple of years, it's in the millions of appreciation on the portfolio. So not counting the cash flow, the appreciation alone is in the millions. Wealth building journey. Have to get the ratio to 50% of likes to looks to get YouTube to start recommending a live to others. That makes sense. Property management triangle. Quality, cost, time. Pick two, and your favor. The third will always be in the vendor's favor. Yep, exactly. That's a good way to put it. High quality, short turnaround. Project usually costs a small fortune. JNC likes to make me wonder. Northwest Coast. Howdy. Haven't seen you in a while. James Walsh, funeral homes are being consolidated. Funeral directors are hard to find and replace. There may be a stigma to replacing the funeral home. Environmental may be required for financing. Some things to consider. Completely unrelated story, so check out for 30 seconds if you don't just want like an overshare. I founded a nonprofit that does job placement assistance. It was called TPS, and Transportation Placement Services. We help people find jobs with transportation companies, or really with any company. We helped them with resume work, interviewing skills, did it all for free. And the idea was the more people we found for HR, IT, admin, management jobs with trucking companies, the more those companies would hire the graduates from the CDL school. So it's one of my ideas that really grew the CDL school and got me demoted down to president of the company. But we met a person who came in and he goes, so I'm going to try to, I'm not a good impersonator, right? This was him. I would really like a job in sales. I can't even get it as straight-faced as he was. Sales and marketing is a people business, and you really want to have personality and you want to have communication skills. He is still working at a funeral home where we got him a sales position. And it was a weird pair up where the actual school that we were at it was not far from a funeral home, and they had come in because we have the nonprofit looking for people for their business. So we helped people find jobs and all kinds of things. Finding that personality that fits somebody who wants to do sales, but can be in a situation where you're dealing with somebody during their time of loss, that's not going to be an easy thing either. So the reason I brought up the story is it's such a rare thing to put those together that I remember it. REI owners, can you go over the cameras you use and if they have a subscription? They didn't have a subscription when I purchased them, but I think they do now. I'd have to check. It's Arlo, ARLO. I can get an Amazon link for you if you want. I'll text it to you. It's like $450 for the package. You can add cameras for $50 or $100. It has an alarm system where you can push a button and it hits a piercing siren. You do need to have Wi-Fi set up wherever you're putting it. So if you have a vacancy, I would get Wi-Fi there, have it set up, have your Arlo system going. Especially, I did the interview that came out with Dana on Thursday on self-guided tours. I would want Wi-Fi cameras in all the points of entry and on anything that can be stolen. You can have several different cameras in different angles. They run on battery. They can be hardwired, plugged in. You could talk through them like a Ring camera. Pretty happy with them. I don't know about the subscription because I'm kind of grandfathered. I've had my system for, I don't know, 2020. I think I bought this last one. Anytime there's movement, it records and it holds that recording for a week. In that week, if something happens and you wanted the recording, you can download the recording, you have it forever. That's how that system works for me. Pretty happy with it. There's several. You can also go to Comcast, or Xfinity here in your area where you're at, Josh. It has a home security system that they do the same thing with. Don't know the cost. The wealth building journey. Cody Evers, yep. Even though the Fed has made house purchases difficult, there are deals available, but you have to hunt for them. Agreed. Most people aren't willing to do the work. Totally agree. REI Stoners, when upgrading countertops, are you going with Matt's Butcher Block with epoxy? We are loving the look, and best of all, not expensive as granite. I believe I'm going to go with the one that Matt's suggesting, the Butcher Block with epoxy, because he talked about how easy it is to fix a stain or a damage. You can melt epoxy. All right, Stoners, you should really be working. You are. I am pretty much done with this live stream. I hope it's been helpful. I appreciate every like that you guys did. I appreciate the super chats. I'm going to talk for just a few more minutes in case there's any more questions that pop up. This was a video that started, Mad76, howdy, thanks for joining us, with a rant on, I love my memory, why real estate, when there are so many things that are easier. Stocks, the barrier to entry is easier. Retirement accounts, you invest without even seeing the money. It comes out before you get it. Social security is going to be there. We contribute to it whether you work or not. Or whether you retire early or not. You get Medicaid, Medicare at 65, you get healthcare, you get all these things that make retirement easier. Why would I choose real estate? All of that was ranted about in the first, I want to say 15 minutes of the video, but it was probably 18 or 20. Michelle, I did Butcher Block installed myself. Did you do the epoxy yourself? Because I haven't done that yet. So I was wondering how that went. Cool. Thank you all very much. We're going to wrap it up there. Ninja Vanish, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a member. Oh, that's right. I'll wrap up with members live stream is going to be tomorrow around 1 p.m. Pacific, because the course live stream is tomorrow at noon. So if you want to be in a Zoom for, looking at portfolios, looking at personal, situations, that's the course. It's at noon. You can find the course at diontalk.com. The members only live stream is going to be here at 1 o'clock tomorrow. That's where we look at deals. We look at, it's super boring. That's why it's not done on YouTube. It's done for members, because you have to know how boring it's going to be. In other words, it would kill my YouTube channel. We open emails. We look at markets. We look at your markets. We look at my markets. We look at the next deal we're looking at buying. We compare markets. We look for other people's eyes to look at deals so that we know we're not missing something. That it's like when you write something, when you do something and you make a mistake, no matter how many times you look at it, you're not going to see your mistake. When someone else looks at it, the mistake happens right away. And if there's anybody here who's in the current BiggerPockets Real Estate Bootcamp, I believe tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific is our first teaching assistant live. So I will see you there if you're in the group. Michelle, I did something on them. Not sure it was epoxy. Nice. Maybe send me Pacific Standard. So West Coast time. Noon for the course, 1 for the members only, and 2 for BiggerPockets. Cool. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, let me know what you use, because I'll be doing the same thing. I've got, I'm taking one kitchen from a unit and moving it to the other. See how that goes. And then I'm going to put it in a new kitchen, and it's going to be the butcher block with epoxy, probably whatever you did. Yep, 3 for the course, 4 for the members only. Thanks. Thank you, Wealth Building Journey. And thanks for hanging out with me on a Friday, this random midday live stream. Next Friday, same time, 8 or 8:30, should be this live on the Lumberjack Landlords channel. So hopefully I'll see you there. If not, I'll see you Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific for my next live. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.